everyone. I'm Mandi Rae here for OPA, the Organization for Professional Astrology, and I have the joy of having Kay Taylor, the president of OPA, with us today. How are you, Kay?
I'm well. Nice to see you, Mandi Rae.
Very nice to see you too. And today we're just going to be talking a little bit about astrology and business. We have the AstroBiz Summit coming up for OPA, April 25th through 27th. And Kay will be leading the welcoming and also giving a short talk on the heart of marketing at the very beginning on April 25th. So be sure to check that out. The first thing I want to know is because you are president of OPA, the Organization for Professional Astrology, we all get together and we talk about this stuff in peer groups and consulting skills. But I think you have a unique perspective on the business of astrology and the passion of it. So do you have anything to share that you've learned through just being president of OPA?
I feel like what I've learned through being president of OPA and being involved in astrological orgs in general is that we need the connection on the professional level much more than most people realize, because astrology professionalism is kind of a solitary affair, right? You usually learn by yourself, and then you start seeing some clients, maybe you take some classes, but you're often by yourself figuring things out. And of course, in the last couple of decades, there's a lot more to learn from, and there's ample conferences and things like that for people to go to. But many of us who started out earlier than that, we really were like building the wheels by ourselves. And when we connect with each other in this way and share techniques, whether it's in the OPA peer group where we are in a little group with four astrologers and a leader, and we're diving deep into the granularity of what we do, or this kind of summit that OPA is presenting, we get to hear what other people are doing, what their best practices, how they think of marketing, how they look at their chart compared to the way they're doing their business planning for the year, for instance, or what they've learned about speaking. We get few speakers who are well known in Toastmasters, for instance, and Kepler College has a Toastmasters group just for astrologers, which I've been part of for the last couple of years. And it's amazing. It's amazing that this organization that knows all about public speaking is merged with the astrologers and taking our ability to be good lecturers to a whole nother level than what existed before. So the bottom line is we need this connection professionally more than we think we do.
Oh, you're so right about that. And, to that effect, I've had the pleasure of interviewing because I help with social media, interviewing a few of the speakers so far. And I'm just amazed at the amount of knowledge that they have to share. And I'm so excited about this summit for that reason. And speaking of what we have to share about marketing and about the profession, I noticed that some astrologers are resistant to that. I guess that idea of making it a profession, yet there is that need when you start to spend all your time helping others to sustain your life, to sustain yourself. And so, how do you feel about talking about astrology and business together? I think what's the main takeaway that you're sharing from your heart of marketing?
Well, from my talk, where I'm talking about the heart of marketing, I'm talking about consciousness, caring for our clients, and how being authentic and being a supportive human is a major gift that we bring to the client, separate and apart from all the astrology we know. And then there's another level of marketing that people can do that's businessy, like, do you do social media? Do you send email blasts? How do you do that? And then, of course, that's based on what is your quality of astrology, because it doesn't matter how great your marketing is. If you don't know your astrology well and you don't know how to deliver the information in a healing, helpful way, you're probably not going to get much referral or return business, which is a core of marketing. So there's all these different levels and all these different perspectives. Going back to the first part of your question, that people might say, as astrologers, we shouldn't be talking about professionalism or being a profession or being a business. I don't quite understand that. If we're going to devote ourselves to it, we're going to go through years and years of study and set up a website and see people, then we have to admit that this is a business. And my point in my talk is that there's still a certain spiritual consciousness quality to it, that we can have both. It doesn't have to be either a cold, hard, dry business that we think of as heartless. And it doesn't have to be, oh, I just give it all away for free to everybody, because we don't live in a society that allows us really to do that. If we were back in the indigenous days where the medicine people, the priests, priestess, healers were just taken care of by the tribe, that's a whole different thing. But we live in a society where we we trade cash. And we have to figure out a way to deal with that and deal with that with a certain level of integrity.
It's a beautiful way to put it. People watching this who are maybe dipping their toes into making it a business may need to work with that idea a lot. So I'm so glad that you shared that. Do you see common mistakes that you want to point out, and not in a judgy way, but mistakes that people make when they start out, especially in regards to marketing their astrology?
I don't know if I'll say it's a mistake across the board, because I don't want to be judgmental about the way people do things. But I will say that there's been a trend in these last few years that people, they study a little bit of astrology, and then they're good with doing a website, doing social media, and they put themselves out there as professional astrologers, and they don't have the training yet. They don't have consulting skills. They maybe don't even know enough astrology. Maybe they're just working with a few concepts, and that tends to not work very well. On the other hand, I have met many, many people, especially at conferences. You're sitting around a table, you're talking to people, and people who have studied for 15, 20, 30 years, and they feel they're not ready to be a professional yet, and they don't really know exactly what they would do for a website. So, there's like a balancing in between where you definitely have enough knowledge, you are ready, and then taking that leap at the appropriate time. That's a hard judgment call.
It is. It is. And something we all work with. I know I did several years of just hobbyist, which I really was more professional. I look back at it and I'm like, oh, I've been a professional astrologer for a lot longer than when I started my business. So it's a good point. Let's see, do you have anything else to share about your presentation and your opening remarks for the AstroBiz Summit, or just something in general?
I encourage people to show up for this summit, whether you are already a professional or you are thinking about it, you've been studying for a while, you're wondering what it would take to be a professional. We have some really great speakers in a wide variety of topics, from writing, speaking, marketing, branding, all very entertaining and interesting people to share their wisdom with you. And I think anybody who's interested in the world of professional astrology will get a good, deep foundation. And if you can't make it to all of the Zoom presentations in real time, the recordings are going to be available. And yeah, there's a wealth of wisdom here. Also, I'll mention from our previous iAstrologer conferences, which were in-person conferences about business skill building, we have a wealth of recordings from those conferences, and access to those recordings are going to be given out as part of this conference, that you'll be able to watch those for 6 months as well. So it's a huge amount of information.
Mm. And I look forward to learning all of it personally. I will be there. And if you would like to check it out, visit opaastrology.org. I would love to thank you for joining me today to let people in on a little bit of this AstroBiz Summit. And you also could check out, if you go to our website, membership, which I also highly encourage, because you get to meet so many people and connect with the community in such a deep, fulfilling way. So it's such a wonderful thing. And thank you guys. If you would like, share, subscribe, comment, anything that you want to ask us, we would love to see it and hear about it. Thank you very much for joining me, Kay.